Pure feel-good escapism, one of my absolute favourite tropes in a book ever. Feel like a warm hug, curl up with a cup of tea and enjoy the vibes. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. For today's video I am jumping on the bandwagon and I am talking about my cozy autumn or fall book recommendations. I've just been for an autumnal walk with my beautiful doggy and I am in such an autumnal mood, so I thought this was the perfect time to film this video. So I've got some classics, some fantasy, some contemporary and of course some thrillers in there, so a little bit of a mix, something for everyone. Basically these are all just books that give me those cozy autumnal vibes. Ones that just feel like a warm hug, or ones I just want to curl up and read on a rainy day, a cup of tea or a cup of hot chocolate and just get lost in another world. So if you would like to hear about my cozy autumnal book recommendations, then just keep watching. So I thought I'd start with a classic, and this one has to be my ultimate autumnal read. Aside from Frankenstein, which is another autumnal read but I do not own it, so we're not going to talk about that one today. But another absolutely iconic autumnal read for me that has all the cozy vibes is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This is the Penguin cloth-bound classic edition, which is absolutely beautiful, but Jane Eyre is one of my favourite all-time classics. Most people know what it's about, but we basically follow Jane Eyre, who has a horrible childhood, eventually ends up becoming a governess at Thornfield Hall, where she's employed by Mr. Rochester, who seems like a dark, mysterious, rude character to begin with, but of course she breaks him down and sees what's underneath. The reason this one feels so autumnal to me is because it's set in this dingy gothic manor, Thornfield Hall. So the whole setting itself is just very dreary and dark and cozy, I guess. There's a lot of scenes by the fireside and there's a lot of dingy, dreary, horrible weather on the moors. So to me that just screams cozy autumnal vibes. That screams curl up with a cup of tea and enjoy the vibes. Next I have a couple that are more in the sort of fantasy realm. The first one is House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This one, as V.E. Schwab says, is like being wrapped up in a big gay blanket. Perfect for the autumnal season. In this one we follow Linus, who works for the department in charge of magical youth, and he is sent to this particular orphanage to determine whether it should stay open or not, whether the 6 children that are there are too dangerous for it to remain open, whether it is still serving its purpose. But when he is there, Linus falls in love with all of the weird and wonderful magical children that are in that orphanage. And honestly, the whole thing is just so sweet, so adorable. Like V. Schwab says, it just feels like being wrapped up in a big cozy warm blanket. It has magical vibes, it has gay vibes. For me, it is perfect for curling up on an autumnal day and just having that cozy magical feeling. The next one probably comes as no surprise to anyone. It'd be an absolute crime if I did not mention it because it is one of my favourite books of all time, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This one is like the ultimate cozy magical book. As the back says, the circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there when yesterday it was not. The black sign painted in white letters that hangs upon the gates reads, "Opens at nightfall, closes at dawn." In this we basically follow 2 characters who are mentored in this crazy competition that takes place at the Night Circus, where they have to test their magic and their imagination and of course their love as well. The reason this is such an autumnal book for me is just because of how magical it is. Like, that is the ultimate word for this book. The writing is magical, the setting is magical, the story, it's just so captivating from start to finish. Just takes you into this magical world where it's dark and dreamy and full of romance as well, and yeah, just the ultimate autumnal read for me. Next I have some contemporaries that give me very cozy autumnal vibes, and first of all I have one that I've not really heard many people speak about but I loved it, and that is Looking for Eliza by Leith Arbuthnot. This one just came out earlier this year I believe, and in it we follow Ada and Eliza. Eliza is a student at university who is struggling to find herself and struggling to find any meaningful relationships after becoming out of quite an abusive one. Ada is an elderly, recently widowed woman who feels she's becoming invisible in the world. She doesn't have any strong relationships left now that she's lost her husband, and she's lonely and bored. So she sets up this agency to give her life purpose, and it's like a rent a granny agency where basically anyone can hire her to work as a babysitter, basically just to be a granny for you if you need it, whether that be for children, adults, people going through a tough time, anything like that. And through this, Ava and Eliza's paths cross, their lives become entwined, and it ultimately becomes about their intergenerational relationship, the most meaningful relationship in both their lives. And it's just so heartwarming to read these two women with such a huge age difference, who mean so much to each other, can relate to each other on so many levels despite their age difference, and help each other through really tough times. Cozied up in Ada's little living room with their cups of tea, it's just so beautiful. It's a heartwarming tale, it's cozy and perfect for the autumnal season. On a similar note, I also have The Switch by Beth O'Leary. In this one, we follow Lena and Eileen, who are granddaughter and grandmother. And Lena lives in the city in London. She has got a busy, bustling life where all she does is work. Eileen lives in the country in a little cottage, and it's like this little community that knows everything about everyone, and she is very sort of stuck in a rut in this little cottage life. So the two of them switch their lives, their homes, for a certain amount of time. Lena goes to live in this little cottage in this cute, cozy, boring community, little village, and Eileen goes to live in Lena's flat in London with her young flatmates. The two of them obviously experience very different things while they're completing this little experiment. They learn so much about themselves, and again you've got those intergenerational relationships that to me are just so heartwarming, as well as the setting for Lena of this cozy little village. There's gossip and there's things going on, but there's also all these people coming together to help each other, and it's just so cute. And the journey that both of these women go on is lovely. I think it's so well written and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just pure feel-good escapism, perfect for a cozy day to get lost in these lovely adorable lives. Finally, on the sort of contemporary note, I have popped in With the Fire and High by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you know me, you'll know I adore Elizabeth Acevedo. I think I've given every single one of her books 5 stars, if not maybe a 4-star. But I'm not really sure why, because they're all amazing. Her writing is incredible, but this one just feels particularly autumnal to me because it is so centred around cooking and family. We both basically follow Imoni, who is a young high school teenager who wants to be a chef but has to navigate her school life with the fact that she is also a young single mother. And her way of escaping her very difficult teenage life is cooking. She gets lost in her cooking. It's pure escapism for her. Obviously this is hard hitting in many ways, but it is also such a cozy read, and that idea of just soulful warming food to me just screams autumn. We have little recipes that pop up in here, as well as just that relationship between her and her daughter as well. It's just such a heartwarming thing as well. So yeah, definitely a cozy autumnal read for me. Okay, finally I have some thrillers. Of course I wasn't going to miss those out. First of all, I have a YA thriller series, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So I've got the first one and the second one here, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. There is also As Good as Dead now, but I do not currently have that one. I need to get it and read it ASAP. But the first one basically follows Pippa, who as her sort of end of year high school project decides to investigate the murder of Andy Bell, who was a young teenager who was murdered in her town a few years ago, and everyone thought it was an open shut case. Most people believed her boyfriend murdered her and then committed suicide, but because of that he was never able to tell his story, and Pippa, along with a few other people in the town, do not believe that is what happened. So Pippa decides to investigate for her school project and ends up getting herself in a lot of trouble. It gets darker than she thought it would, and darker than I thought it would as a YA thriller. But for me, thrillers are just the ultimate thing for autumn. Again, just because they're perfect for reading on dark, dingy, dreary days. These ones, you've got a lot of her sort of investigating in the woods, like in the dark, dreary weather. It's all very atmospheric, very exciting, and very autumnal. Next I have one that I could not leave out of here, of course, and that is Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This one follows the character of Emma, who when she was younger went to Camp Nightingale, I believe, but she wasn't there for very long because when she was there, her 3 friends who were in the same cabin as her all went missing and were never found again. And now, I think about 20 years later maybe, Emma is asked to return to Camp Nightingale because it is reopening and they want her to be a art teacher because she is a painter. So she decides to go back purely to investigate and to try and find out what happened to these 3 girls so that she can put it to bed forever because it still torments her. And for me, it is purely the camp setting for this one that makes me think huge autumn vibes. I know it's a summer camp, but there's something about a camp setting that to me screams autumn. Like, I want to read it in autumn. I don't want to read or watch like camp horrors or camp thrillers in summer. I want to watch and read them in autumn. I don't know if that's just me, it makes complete sense to me, but maybe I'm just weird, wouldn't be surprised. So again, yeah, you've got this exciting story that you can escape into on a dreary day that has also got a lot of it set in the outdoors. I think another is another reason that I see it as quite autumnal, and yeah, highly recommend. Finally, I have another thriller, and that is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This one is an adaptation of The Turn of the Screw, if anyone knows that story, which is actually also one of my favourite autumn/winter reads, and any adaptation of it, again, I will watch or read in autumn/winter. But this one follows Rowan, who goes to work as a live-in nanny in a house that is fairly isolated up in Scotland, and while she's there, weird things start to happen that seem quite spooky, that could possibly be supernatural. So she doesn't know if she can explain it through supernatural means or through real means, and someone is actually toying with her and sort of tormenting her. What's interesting about this one is it's actually told through letters. It's told from Rowan's perspective when she is in prison after the fact for the murder of a young child in this house. And she is writing to a lawyer to try and get him to represent her because she is adamant that she is innocent. So she tells the whole story through her own eyes, through her own experiences and her own memories, which means we have an unreliable narrator, which is one of my absolute favourite tropes in a book ever, and also I think very sort of autumnal. It's sinister, it's dark, it has you on edge, perfect for reading in the autumn time. But yeah, it's gripping, it's captivating, it keeps you on edge, and also because it's got that sort of ghostly aspect to it as well, I think it's perfect for reading in the autumn spooky season. And as I said before, who doesn't want to curl up with a good thriller on a cosy autumn afternoon? So that is just a few of my cosy autumn book recommendations. Hopefully you will have got some good recommendations from that. Hopefully you'll have added some to your TBR. Let me know if you agree with any of these, or let me know if you'd like to add any to the list that you think I might enjoy reading at this time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, if you did, then please do give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more bookish content from me. Comment down below with any of your thoughts and feelings. I do reply to every single comment. I love you all, and I will see you in my next one.